The word wrestling and vulnerability just don't seem to go in the same sentence. I mean, one screams toughness and the other almost just whispers weakness in our lives. But here's what I've discovered. Authentic vulnerability may be the key to unlocking our potential, both as an individual and as an athlete. Vulnerability is that unstable feeling we get when we step out of our comfort zone or something causes us to maybe relinquish control. In most relationships in our lives, the key to real trust is authentic vulnerability. And in the life of David, what we see in this relationship with David and Jonathan in 1 Samuel 23 is this authentic vulnerability between two friends in Scripture. We're going to pick up in verse 16. And Saul's son Jonathan went to David at Horesh and helped him find strength in God. Don't be afraid, he said. I love that phrase. Great friends will always be challenging us to not be afraid. My father Saul will not lay a hand on you. You will be king over Israel, and I will be second to you. Even my father Saul knows this. The two of them made a covenant before the Lord. Then Jonathan went home, but David remained. Have you ever struggled to trust someone in your life, maybe a coach, a teammate, a parent, due to the fear that what they're saying isn't actually going to come to fruition, or maybe it's some sort of pain that they've caused you in the past? 1 Samuel 23, here's what we have. We have this life or death situation. It's not pass fail. This isn't A or B. It's not win loss. It is truly a life or death situation. Yet David was vulnerable enough to fully trust his friend Jonathan. I was recently coaching my son. He's 11 years old. He just began the sport of wrestling, and he's wrestling in his first tournament. He makes the finals of this tournament, and the score's tied 5-5 in the third period. He and this other guy were just battling it out, and with about 40 seconds left, here's what my experience told me. If you've ever been a part of a youth wrestling tournament or seen little kids wrestle, you know that they lock their hands a whole lot. So with about 40 seconds left, here's what I decided. It's probably a good idea if we let his opponent go and try to get a takedown rather than trying to ride him out and send it to overtime by the match being tied. And I can remember when I yelled at him to let the guy go, the look that he gave me was not a look of confidence. Yet in the midst of that moment, when in his mind he was going, Dad, why would we give him a point? Dad, why would we give him a lead? Dad, why would you allow him to get ahead and for me to lose this match? In the midst of all of that confusion going on in his mind and his heart, here's what he did. He yielded to my instruction. He was vulnerable enough in that moment at that young age to trust me to do just what I asked him to do. As soon as he let him go, here's what I want to be honest and say. I started praying because I knew if he didn't get a takedown, he was never going to trust my wisdom again in the sport of wrestling. Fortunately, he went on, he got a takedown with about 15 seconds left, and he won the match. The good news for you and I is that although our vulnerability with others can prove to be crucial in certain moments as we allow them access to our true self, it's really our vulnerability with God that is life-changing. Being honest with him about our sin, our struggles, our dreams, our blind spots, gives him access to the places where we're all looking for that personal freedom. I love my good friend Travell Delagnev. We have these talks about wrestling, and it's almost humorous because in the sport of wrestling, in these tense moments, we'll be walking out with this young athlete. They're facing this opponent that may be a lot better than them, and we'll look at them and we'll say, hey, are you excited about the match? And they always respond with, yeah, coach, I'm excited. Well, are you nervous? No, I'm not nervous. Are you ready? Yeah, I'm ready. Never in the history of my coaching have I asked a child one of those questions and them be honest and respond back with, hey, coach, I'm scared to death. Hey, coach, I don't even want to go out here. Hey, coach, if I'm being honest, I don't think I have even a remote chance of beating this guy, because in sport, here's what we've done. We've almost robbed people of vulnerability. Yet it's that same vulnerability that sometimes can get us to the highest place of achievement. I want to ask you a question. Is there anyone in your life, a coach, a parent, a teacher, a mentor, that you can trust and be honest with about the real you. Not the you that we see on social media, not the you that we see walking around school, not the you we see in class or the practice room or the locker room, but the real you. The you that is there at night and is wrestling with the struggles that are going on. I believe we all need a Jonathan in our life. Who in your life are you leaning on for direction in your most difficult moments? Not just winning and losing a wrestling match, but man, when life just seems to be pressing in. Do you have anyone in your life that you can really be honest with? Do you have people in your life like Jonathan speaking over you in those seasons that seem scary, and they're simply saying this: hey, you, don't be afraid. If you want to be great in sport, here's what it's going to require. It's going to require a level of vulnerability. You're going to have to trust your coach. You're going to have to trust your parents. You're going to have to trust your teammates. But when you get vulnerable and you put your trust out there, here's what you begin to see. You begin to see yourself make strides toward excellence. And if we want to experience all that God has for us, here's what we have to do. We got to be honest with Him about us. In this series, here's what we want to give you permission to do. Be honest. I often say this: questions lead to reflection, and reflection leads to growth. Maybe for you today, you need to ask some questions. Who in my life can I be honest with? Is there been a time in my life where I actually have been honest about the real me? I believe when we begin to make those steps, man, God begins to bless our lives, and we begin to experience all that He has for us.